all the whole time.
Right.
Just a little bit easier on that, because once again, that'll kind of make the whole thing a lot smoother and a lot just more flowing, kind of like that. But now, let's get into talking about more specific related stuff. At this very beginning, this whole thing, now high-speed pursuit, I'm assuming this is probably about like a police chase or something of that nature. So this is basically the part where the dispatcher is sending out the Morse code and stuff like that to be like, calling all cars, and so this is supposed to be a real mechanical kind of quality. Whenever you see a TP accent like that, make it real pointed, real blunt, real sharp. Make a really clear, sharp articulation, as opposed to just kind of. It's like no, you're a machine at this point. So let's go ahead and start at the very beginning, and let's really kind of try to emphasize that. Whenever you see one of these, really pop it out, really put a lot of punch onto it to kind of give it that really like kind of hard tapping quality to it. All right. 1, 2, top, 2, ready, go. Okay, good. So that was better that time in terms of the punchy attacks. That hit there, that forte piano at the on the end of 4 and measure 6 definitely popped that out a little bit more. Once again, that's got to be a big hit, drop way down, and then bring it way back up. Let's try it again right there at the beginning, real quick, and we'll go on from there. Okay, 1, 2, top, 2, ready, go. Good. So, the other thing that I noticed when I was looking over the score for this, letter C and letter K are pretty much the exact same thing. In fact, they are the exact same thing. So we got to find a way to make them different, make them kind of stand out from one another, so it's not such a blatant, obvious copy-paste. Because if you're just playing things the exact same way, the audience will be like, well, we've heard this before. It's going to kind of lose the audience's attention a little bit. So, what's one way that we can kind of make things a little bit different? Well, if we're playing this section at C, especially on the first time through, when we're at the beginning of the tune, we're getting ready to launch off into a tenor saxophone solo, all that kind of stuff. I would say overall we can probably take the volume level down a little bit. I know it's Mark's forte, but just to offer up a little bit, and once again, we're still at the beginning. We're still, we don't want to climax too early, musically speaking. So if we maybe knock this down to like a mezzo forte, if you will, that's probably the best way to go about approaching this musically speaking, and once again to kind of create, to not overwhelm the listener so quickly. So let's go ahead and let's try it. See, there were a couple other things I was going to say during this section as well, actually. So, but let's go ahead and start at C once again. Take the volume down like a half a dynamic level. Play it a little easier. Don't really just completely, we're not bashing skulls in right now. We're just kind of nice and easy and trying to make the, I know this is a minor key, that's all that is, but we're trying to invite the audience in. We're trying to make them happy and feel comfortable. We're not trying to like scare them away, which is kind of what we were doing before. So let's go ahead and start at C. 1, C, 2, 1, 2, ready. Kind of follow me a little bit there. First of all, the 4 on the floor is better right now. That's what you were doing just then with keeping the bass drum a little lighter, much better. So, good job.
Thank you.
Now the other thing I was going to say about C, and specifically when we get to measure 45, is it? Yeah, 45. That whole section from 45 all the way up until the tenor break, when I just heard you guys run through that, it's I didn't hear like really any dynamic variance at all. It was just loud. And that's okay, but at the same time, if, once again, we're going to kind of burn out the listener, if we're just playing loud, this, it's marking the parts a little bit. I would even say take even these dynamics down a step from where you were in order to make this real dramatic build all the way up until you hit 1 in measure 51. Bang that. That's a bang right there. That's a big old hit right there, and then obviously we're launching into the tenor solo from there. You guys did follow me a little bit. I mean, obviously when I'm flailing my hands around like a maniac up here, it's a little hard to ignore, I guess. But once again, it's like, let's kind of over-exaggerate that a little bit. Let's go ahead and start a few measures before that. Let's start, trumpets, I know you're going to be coming in on high Ds right there, so I apologize. But let's start at 41, and once again, let's really try to draw that out a little bit. And once again, just you hit that first note on the downbeat of 1 at measure 45, and like that's a big hit, but then everything else just goes down to nothing, like just barely above a whisper. And this whole thing needs to just build in volume and build in intensity throughout, all the way up until you make that next big hit at measure 51. And don't worry about the tenor break for right now. We're just rehearsing section stuff. So let's go ahead and give that a try now. So once again, starting at measure 41. So 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, go. Okay, great. That was a lot better that time. Not just from a volume standpoint, but in terms of just a musical interpretation standpoint. There was much more intensity, much more of a build going on right there, as opposed to just kind of like, that's nice, but once again, we need to kind of draw the listener in a little bit more than that. And so that was a lot better that time. Good job. We don't need to rehearse these backgrounds at D and E. They're simple enough rhythmically and all that other stuff. But I will say, remember, if you're playing da 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 da, you're not the star right there. That's not your high mom moment right there. These two guys right here are supposed to be getting all the attention. Make sure that you are not overwhelming them while they're up there going away. Yeah, exactly. You guys can give each other a high five right there. Go get it. So yeah, just stay back. Don't go crazy there. You're not the star of the show by any stretch of the imagination there. All right, so this thing at G, this little kind of building thing that we had at G, played 4 times, all that stuff. Once again, I think dynamics are just something that needs to be a little bit more observed here. I mean, once again, I'm going to respectfully disagree with the fact that it's part forte during this part. I would say basically you almost want to think of this as at G, you start out like halfway between piano and mezzo piano. Next time around, kind of halfway between mezzo piano and mezzo forte. Third time, you're at mezzo forte, and then finally, on the 4th time, when everybody's in together, that's all big and crazy and chaos. So you got the just the rhythm section the first time, and the baritone saxophone. Saxophone second time, trumpets third and fourth. Okay. So now, once again, since you're adding more instruments each time. With each different, with each repeat, there's more instruments coming in. Naturally, the volume's going to get a little bit larger, but kind of take that into account once again. If the saxophones, for example, who are playing 3 out of the 4 times, you guys can definitely kind of start to bring up a little bit because, well, frankly, that's going to force the guys behind you to kind of pull along. And, well, let's be honest, saxophones. How many times have you wanted to be able to drag the trumpets and trombones volume-wise? I mean, that's like a dream come true for saxophone players, as far as I know, especially with all the hell we give you just blasting in your ears the whole time. So let's go ahead and give that a try now at G. Once again, start real soft. It's just rhythm and baritone, I think, up right there. Yeah. And once again, each time just needs to be a little bit more. It's, as I said, just kind of let the fact that you're just naturally adding more instruments on top play a little bit of a role, so you don't go completely out of control. But once again, keep ratcheting up a little bit. And sorry for our lone trombone player, you gotta effectively play the role of 4 guys right now, so you can't really overplay in this situation. So let's go ahead and give that a shot, starting at G, first time. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. once again, it's drum solo right now. This is, once again, this is your moment now. This is your, you know, and of course drummers love that part. Now this fall, I think, is one of these things, like, you guys can milk this a little bit. It's not just one of these, you know, you bow. Oh, that's okay. But once again, you can kind of really milk that a little bit. I think you almost want to hold this fall out for like a couple bars, basically. Da 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 bow. I mean, like, make it really dramatic and over the top, and really kind of almost comical in a way, I would say. So let's go ahead and start 4 before J, and let's give that a shot, and you know, see what happens if we can just once again hold that and just really exaggerate that as much as possible. So once again, 4 before J, and we'll go on from there. And remember, when we get to K, we got to find a way to make it a little bit different than how we played it before. So you can play it a little bit louder and maybe a little bit more aggressively than you did the first time through at C. So let's go ahead and give that a shot. 4 before J. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, go. Here, you got to just come like down to nothing. I mean, we're going crazy right there, and all of a sudden, you know, everything, you know, the bottom just drops out. I mean, you guys have done the Disney trip. You guys have gone on the Tower of Terror. You know what happens there. You rise, and then all of a sudden, down you go. This is basically the musical equivalent of that. The bottom just drops out, and you got to fall down to nothing there. So let's go ahead and move back a little bit. Let's go ahead and start where we just started, the 4 before J again, and try to remember that. Where once again we get to that, we're still playing. I mean, we're playing even bigger and stronger and more powerful than we were before. We just got to go down to absolutely nothing, because once again that's going to create such an incredible dramatic impact there that once again the audience is going to be like, and that's the goal that we're looking for. We're trying to engage the listeners as opposed to just merely watching them just be like. And then, you know, and then all of a sudden, you know, a tenor player stands up and says, "Oh my God, that's my baby!" And then they go back to. No, we want them to be paying attention the entire time. So, let's go ahead and let's start 4 before J again. And remember, when we get there, drop way down. 4 before J again. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. This is like the raunchy part of the whole thing. I mean, this needs to be completely and totally just laden with attitude and laden with aggression and kind of nastiness almost. This is a part where I'm going to disagree with the dynamics written on the page in the opposite direction. You guys can really like bring this out and make it. I'm running a big risk here when I say make it ugly sounding, but really that's kind of almost what you have to do here at the end right there. So. About where was it that you guys are taking this tempo at L?
L?
Yeah.
It's different.
Okay. Well.
Usually, she brings me a fast forward.
Yeah, it's a fast forward. I know it's a fast. Okay, so about there. Okay, so let's go ahead and start at L. Now we're in 4. We're not in 2 anymore. We're in 4. So 1, 2, L, 2, 3, 4. Once again, that last hit there in the saxophones, that needs to be more dramatic than that. It's and the same thing in the trumpets. You guys got to hit that, And then we'll really start to build in that last measure. That, you know, that once again, saxophone stays off for that one bar, and then really the whole thing starts to build there at the end. Baritone, listen, it's not Mark's solo, that's a solo right there. You gotta really just like lay into that. Just honk that low A out as big as you possibly can. You're the foundation upon which the rest of the band is built at this point. We don't want to necessarily have a foundation that's going to be washed away in the tide. We want a foundation that's going to be like right there. So go ahead and please bring that out. So let's go ahead and start at L one more time. 1, 2, 1, 2, L, and. All right, great. So I figure what we might as well do now is just run the whole thing. And once again, as a recap, at the beginning, real mechanical, real, once again, I'm conducting like this for a reason. It's, it's supposed to have this real kind of choppy mechanical quality to it. It's less organic music making and more, you're a machine at this point. I heard this, we didn't rehearse just now. Be careful not to take off when you have that little like walking bass line there. It kind of took off a little bit and then kind of settled back in a little. Once again, at B, trombone's the melody. Everybody else, you guys need to hang low a little bit there. C, don't go all out right away. You can kind of back off a little bit. And trumpets in particular, since you guys are unison there, you don't necessarily have to be bringing the full brunt of however loud and however strong you can play. You can go ahead and kind of chill out a little bit there. Saxophone solos, remember, backgrounds, you're not the star. They are. Let them have their moment. G, we're going to build a little bit each time at G. Jump ahead there. Drum solo was a long fall at J. Drum solo a little bit stronger at K. And then we're going to drop down in tempo. We're going to slow down quite a bit there. We're going to slow down a bit at L. And we're going to hit those last notes real hard. So let's go ahead. From the top, let's run the whole thing. All right? 1, 2, top, 2, ready, go.